Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Mums at Work. My name is Rawa.
And my name is Raghad, and today we'll be talking about reconnecting with your partner, which can be very challenging if you're a working mum, because you've got so much to juggle. You've got work, and then we were talking about the children, and we've talked about so many things, about organising children, but we didn't touch upon
Our husbands.
our husbands, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
That is one of the most important things, because a happy marriage is a happy home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a good relationship with your husband, if you have that understanding, if you have mutual understanding, then that trickles down to the children.
Yeah.
That's the first form of understanding how to communicate, understanding love, understanding connecting is from their parents. So if the parents don't have that, then it's going to be very tricky and affect the children.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree.
What do you do to reconnect with your husband since you started work?
Yeah, so I think for me, initially, it was really hard to kind of make that adjustment and realise, I think it took a long time for me to realise that I had been neglecting my husband for quite a while. Obviously, he was really patient with me because, me going back to work was a bit of a shock to my system. It was a shock to the kids. It was a shock to him. There were lots of family adjustments that had to be made, establishing those habits and that routine that we talked about earlier.
And you said that when you first went back to work, you had that conversation with your children about them being your priority and about you
definitely.
just going back to work and need to find your feet.
But I forgot about my husband.
Did you have that conversation with your husband?
This is the thing. I honestly didn't think that I would need to think about that. I just thought, I thought our relationship would just be the same way it was. And to be honest...
You just thought he'd understand.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we just think that our spouses understand.
Yeah.
And that's where the miscommunication comes in. And that's where the marriages break down when both partners are working or both parties are working. That's where the breakdown comes. Your timetables clash.
Yeah.
You are both tired. You haven't had that simple conversation. Sometimes it's the simplest thing that can save a marriage. It's the communication.
Yeah, definitely.
And, having that understanding of this is my work hours, this is your work hours, we're going to have to find a mutual time for us to connect or a mutual time for us to go through our plans or what we plan to do the week or what we plan to do the weekend. We mentioned about, meal preps and things like that. You want to meal prep on the weekend, but your husband wants to go out and see his family.
Yeah.
What do you do then?
Prioritize.
Yeah. Communicate. I think that's the most important thing.
Communication, like you said, is key. For me personally, it took a while until my husband had to tell me, listen, we haven't spent time together.
So he communicated to you?
He did 100%. I think I was just still in my kind of bubble of work, kids, that I did, realise that, oh my God, I haven't seen you, I haven't spent time with you. And what we started doing actually is we made time. So we spoke earlier about making time in the previous show about making time. And we decided that when the kids go off on their Saturdays to Arabic school, that was our time to go out, me and him, go out and have breakfast, chill for those 3, 4, 5 hours, however long they are in Arabic school for. And that was honestly our time to reconnect with each other. We spoke about anything and everything. And you do realize that you missed that connection and you missed that friendship that you have with your husband. It was really nice. And for me as well, I think it's really important to speak to your husband about what you do at work. Let him be proud of you. You're doing an amazing thing, and tell him about your work, what you do. Talk about the drama at work. That's really important. And then it gets him talking about his work, and suddenly you're both talking about things that that are not related to just kids. Because sometimes when you go out with your husband, you'll find that a lot of the talk is about the kids.
What if your partner's not interested in what you do? Like, you're saying talk to him about work, but what if the husband's not interested in the wife, or vice versa, the wife is not interested about what the husband's doing, because you have two completely different jobs and you're not interested with each other's jobs? What do you do then? How do you get your husband or your wife
Well,
on
to
board?
be honest, my husband's into IT, and he knows. I'm saying this on TV. I do switch off when he talks about IT. I'm not into that side of things. I'm not a technical person.
So how does he
but he still talks about it, and I let him, to be honest, because it's important that he still has that friend, has that somebody that he can just go and speak to. So I listen to him, and likewise I talk about my side of work and what I do. He probably doesn't understand half of it, but it's just nice that he's there as a listening ear to talk to me. Yeah, so he might not be interested in my line of work, but he's let me talk. But I think it's important we find something we're both interested in. So definitely we both love any dramas that happen at work.
Okay.
So he'll talk about any dramas at his work. I'll talk about dramas at mine. There's always colleague drama, political drama in the workplace.
So it's the drama that gets you going. Okay, so you found
definitely.
a common interest in your workplace that has connected you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key thing to kind of reconnecting in your marriage, is finding yourself a common interest. I know you mentioned like your day is Saturday, but again, like not everyone has that. Or some people still have babies at home. Like myself, you know, some of the children go to school on Saturday, but then I've still got the 2 babies at home. Yeah. So not everyone has that. No, or some people don't have somewhere that they can leave the children in the evening. During the day there's nurseries, but I mean, not everyone's lucky enough to have a family, or or just that, or the child is not not willing to go to anyone else in the evening because he's a fussy sleeper, or something like that. So I just think that the most important thing is to find yourself a common interest, a place where you can connect, a place where you can actually kind of be together and enjoy your time together, whether it's playing a game, whether it's watching something, whether it's even finding a hobby like writing. I know some people who actually both love art. So they kind of just sit there in the evenings and just,
doodle.
Find yourself an artwork or a portrait, and they work on it together, and it's just so beautiful. They, it's about like just different sceneries or different parts of the world, and they have made pieces of art together, or pottery, or
whatever it
cooking.
is, you're doing it together, right?
Yeah, you find yourself something that you can
even
do
when
together.
my kids were babies, like you said, and you couldn't have that Saturday time to yourself or go out in the evening, we did exactly that. We were a bit boring actually. We used to make sure that every night when the kids are in bed, we make green tea and we come and sit down in front of the telly and we watch our favourite series together, And yes, it was boring, and yes, it made us feel like old people.
Beautiful. That's actually beautiful.
But that was our chance.
Even that is so precious.
Yeah.
Even that's so precious.
And even though actually some people said to me, well, but you're watching a series, so you're not really talking, you're watching TV.
But
and I said, actually, we're doing it together, number one, and number two, we end up pausing the TV to talk about what's happening there, and then suddenly remember something that happened during the day, and we talk about that, and then we put it back on this, so half an hour series ends up lasting us an hour because we actually finding other things to communicate about, throughout.
It's finding a common ground, isn't it? It's not forgetting about each other. It's not you coming back from work exhausted, leaving your partner doing his thing and you're going to sleep, for example. I'm talking about both, whether it's the man or the woman. It's about you making time to make that green tea together and doing something together and showing your spouse that you care about what they care about. Whether it's green tea, whether it's even football. I mean, I know not all women are not interested in football, but because they get into it because their spouse is into it. And that's how you show your love to someone. That's how you show your appreciation to someone. In Arabic, we have a saying, I love what you love. If you love something, I will love it too. So if you love someone, you're going to love what they love. And that's how you show that appreciation. That's how you show that, you know what, you're still my priority. I've been working all day. I can go upstairs and go and check my emails, or I can sit with you because you're my priority right now. That's what it's about. And another thing that I find really important in terms of creating a happy home or creating a happy marriage, and reconnecting with your spouse, is not comparing yourself to others.
Very important.
That's really important because, every marriage is different. Every marriage has got its own dynamics. Every marriage has got the breadwinner and the one who works the most at home, because after the break, we'll be talking about, sharing responsibilities at home if you're both working. So you can't compare yourself to others, and don't bring yourself down if you're doing less or more than someone else that or in their relationship. Because what you're capable of is not something what maybe your friend is capable of. You might seem to have the same amount of issues going on in your life, but you don't know how big her plate is. Maybe your plate is bigger than hers. You've got the same amount of things going on, but you're able to hold more, you're able to juggle more, and she's able to juggle less. And maybe that's why her husband has, stepped in more, or vice versa. Maybe you just can't handle as much as your friend can. Your friend seems like Superwoman. She's doing everything. She's baking, and she's doing the most amazing meals, and she's meal prepping. While you're not able to do that. You probably bring takeaways 3 times a week, and that's fine. That's fine. That's what you can do. We're just when we talk about meal prepping, when we talk about trying to make the most meals at home, we're not saying that's what you should do. We're just giving you life hacks. That's what you can do. That's what
some people do.
What some people do. It might be helpful, but actually, if you can't do that, that's perfectly fine. And same goes for your marriage. don't compare your marriage to others. Don't compare what your happy time is with your husband. Some people are able to go out, on Saturdays. Some people are able to go out in the evenings, and some people will do it at home, whether it's playing a card game, playing Monopoly, or watching TV with green tea.
Yeah, no, and it's whatever works for you both as well, isn't it? Because like even now, actually we prefer staying at home. That we prefer spending time together, but at home. So we don't do the Saturday thing anymore, and there's lots of things that helped us before to reconnect, but actually now things in life change.
Because you've grown together.
Yeah, exactly.
Then, you've grown together.
Exactly. So it doesn't mean that just because we were doing that before, that by us not doing it now, it means we're not reconnecting, because we found kind of a common interest of being at home, enjoying being at home and just being together at home, and that's absolutely fine. It's whatever works for you in your life there and then, isn't it? So,
that's the most important thing.
And definitely, I agree with you about not comparing yourself to other people, because I think that can really weigh on you and really bring you down. Every man is different, every wife is different, every marriage is 100% different.
Yeah, and the dynamics. Who's the breadwinner? Who is the OCD kind of thing at home? Like, maybe your husband is willing to help you with the cleaning and that, but some people, are they accepting of that? Or he'll try and do it, Hoover or something, but are you going to get up and Hoover after him? Some people are like that, and so you can't compare yourself to others. I think that's the key thing. And just do what makes you happy. Don't feel guilty as well. We said that don't compare yourself, but another thing is don't feel guilty. Try and just, if the feeling of guilt creeps in, try and cut it out and tell yourself that I'm doing the best I can. Look around, my family's happy, then that's fine.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see what Isra has to say about a bit of self-love.
So self-love is a topic that I'm actually very passionate about. But sometimes when we talk about self-love, I get asked some questions like, will self-love make me more arrogant? Will it make me seem selfish? Or even, is it against my Islamic principles or beliefs or values? So I think first of all, let's start by defining what self-love is. So for me, self-love is the realization that you are worthy of love. Because every single one of us, in our true essence, our true nature, we are attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are attached to God. So it's important to ask, is that connection, is that attachment of who we are in essence not worthy of love? So I hope that you've all answered yes at this question. And I think especially with mums, we realize as soon as we become parents, maybe that we start to prioritize the love of our kids or a family to our own self. But what you begin to realize is that when you neglect your own self-care, self-love, self-development, you actually don't give the best of you to your kids, or even authentic or genuine love. So self-love is about really filling your own self, your own bucket. And if I can give this example here of simple glasses of water. So when you fill your own bucket with love, what you end up doing is when you do interact with your kids or your family, you end up pouring genuine, real love to them. Whereas if your own bucket isn't full, so you can't really pour from an empty bucket. So even then when people ask, is it selfish, you'll realize that's actually the kindest thing that you can do with your own family, with your own kids, to fill yourself up, to be able to then give genuine love for your own children or family. And some of the signs that I think you can look out for if you've not filled up your bucket is looking for signs that you are wanting something in return when you give love to your kids. So you become resentful, for example, when they don't listen to you, when they don't do something, because you feel like they owe you something. Whereas when you give genuine love to them, you're not expecting anything in return. What's also really important when we consider self-love, love is as an emotion, is a pure emotion. It's not attached to anything, it's not dependent on anything. And that's a really important quality, because when we look at self-love, it is about, first of all, forgiving yourself from even our shortcomings, or when we do something that's wrong, we're not perfect human beings. But what it means is that you are separating yourself from your actions. So even when you do something that's wrong, or you have your shortcomings, you might not love that. It doesn't mean you don't love yourself. And this is something that we do with our own kids. We say, I don't love what you've done. We don't say, I don't love you. So we can bring that in and use it for ourselves as well. The other thing with it being pure is that it's not attached to a particular outcome or a goal that you want to achieve. And something that I hear some women say is that, okay, I'll love my body or I'll love myself when I reach a certain weight or when I achieve a certain outcome. But actually, self-love is pure in nature. It's not attached to anything else. And once you grab that, even achieving those goals, they will come out from an authentic part of you, and it will become so much easier as well. The other thing with self-love is, while we talked about it not being, you don't become dependent on other people, that's really important for yourself, because you begin to love yourself, and filling your own bucket means that you're not reliant on someone else filling it for you. So you're not reliant on someone saying, I love you, to feel loved. And so you become self-reliant, self-validated, rather than becoming fragile or dependent on other people. These are some of the things that I want everyone to consider, whether you're a woman or a man, or a mother or not a mother, to really look at self-love as being actually kind, as being genuine, as being worthy of it as well. How do we actually build self-love? Just really, really basic techniques that I would start off with. And number one, writing some of the things that you do love about yourself, of what you've done, of what you've achieved, or what you do on a daily basis. Or even looking at things that you don't do that you love about yourself. For example, I don't backbite, I don't steal, I don't talk bad about other people. So these are the things that you love about yourself. Write all those things down, because it shows you're worthy of love. Or maybe even consider what other people love about you. What qualities do you have that other people love about you? That really helps in generating self-love. Another technique is to actually begin to say thank you when someone praises you, rather than finding a way to move away from that praise or not accept that praise. Oh, but I'm this. Oh, it's not really good. Or it's not me that achieved that. Oh, it's thanks to somebody else helping me. It's actually to take that on and say thank you when someone has praised you. And obviously there's so many other tools and techniques that you can begin to practice to achieve self-love. But I hope this starts you off on that journey.
So self-love for me is about doing things for me to make me happy. And obviously that is going to work, but also that is making sure that I make time for my kids, creating that meaningful family time. What is self-love for you?
Yeah, we all know that self-love, I think now we've come to an age where everyone knows that self-love is really important, where we've all, understand that actually self-love is when it's okay to love yourself so that you can love others.
Yeah.
Just like that analogy of, you can light 1,000 candles from one candle.
Mm.
If that candle itself is not lit, then you can't light up those thousands of candles.
Mm-hmm.
And it will take nothing away from that original candle that was lit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, coming from that, we kind of all have, reached, alhamdulillah, as women, we have reached that understanding that it's okay to love ourselves. But I think what the issue is people not understanding how to love themselves. A lot of people believe that self-love comes from, doing the pedicures and looking after yourself and having, some me time, which is beautiful and perfectly important.
Mm.
But I think self-love comes from within,
Yeah.
deep within. And I think we've mentioned
It's what
it before,
truly makes you happy, I think.
not just what truly makes you happy, but deep within, even deeper than that.
Mm.
It starts off with forgiving yourself.
Mm.
It starts off with appreciating yourself.
Yeah.
And it starts off with you being your own cheerleader, because no one else is going to thank you,
Yeah.
quite frankly. That's where the real self-love comes from. And then you're able to do all the pampering, and then you're able to have that energy to pamper everyone else.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, you just have to dig deeper. That's
Yeah.
what I wanted to touch upon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we all kind of, alhamdulillah, us women all kind of reach the stage that it's okay to love ourselves. That's the only way we can love others. And then in turn, that ties up to, the self-love that you have to yourself when you go to work, that you believe in yourself. Because a lot of mums, especially when you become a mum, you don't believe in yourself that you're going to be able to do both. Can I be a good mum and go to work and still be the wife that society expects me to be?
Yeah.
So when you have that self-love, that self-assurance, that, I can do it. Yes, I can. No, there's no one can tell you that you can't do it. And some people, ask you the question, can you have the best of both worlds? You're either a mother or a working, or a mother or an employee, or a businesswoman. And yes, you can have the both worlds. You just have to change your view of that, because people think having the best of both worlds or is being perfect at one or the other. But what is perfection? What is real perfection, or what looks like as perfection on the other side? I would say the grass is always green on that side.
Yeah.
What perfection looks like on the other side doesn't mean perfection for you. So you can be the best mum you want to be, and you can be a working
mum as well. Yeah. No, definitely. I think for me as well, I think, when I looked back at my life before I started working, around 6 o'clock in the evening is when I would be like physically shattered. Dinner's been done, the house is clean, the kids are in pajamas, they're set, ready for bedtime routine sort of thing. But when I look at my life now, I don't get home till maybe 6:45, 7 sometimes. And actually, as soon as I've walked into the house, it's not
new energy.
It's a new energy. It's not me exhausted. It's me with a fresh kind of, as if I've just woken up that morning. Because suddenly I need to make sure that what I've missed out on during the day, I make that up. In the next hour. So I make sure that we have that family time, for example, whether it's having a meal together, whether it's sitting down playing, a game of Uno, which my kids love to play every single night.
But what about your husband?
That comes later. Well, we've got that understanding now, so we know when our time is to reconnect, and that's fine. But he'll tell you that definitely kids are still priority number one. Even for him. But I think as well, working from home now, there's been a lot more time to fit in time with your husband, especially when we're both working from home and the kids are in school. We'll have lunch together, for example. So that's kind of a new thing that we've incorporated in our life. But it's important to create that meaningful family time, isn't it? That it will connect you. So it's not just about connecting with your partner; it's about connecting with each other as a family, right? How do you incorporate that? Do you make sure that happens, on a nightly basis, or what do you do?
I think that reconnecting with your partner. We said previously about finding a common interest, but I think having a common goal really works as reconnecting with your partner, because you're both working towards the same aim, even if it's something like going on a similar diet together. Well, not just for losing weight, just for health benefits. Doing that diet together and having those meals and kind of prepping or planning what you're going to have the next week because of your goal of this healthy start or this healthy weight, or you want to make sure that you have that 1 hour walk. I've talked about habit trackers. You do the 1 hour walk together, or you do the 10 minutes yoga before you go to sleep, or anything like that. Having the common goal really helps with reconnecting with your partner, because it kind of puts that focus on something, and you're both trying to achieve the same goal. It kind of puts you into a partnership. You're in a team together as a company. And that's really important, having a team, because sometimes partners, especially when they have different jobs, one of them is a breadwinner, the other one is maybe gets paid less, or just different positions. It can kind of be a bit intimidating for one of the partners. But then when you have that common goal and you're working towards that together, or you want to reach a certain amount of money or whatever, so you can buy a certain house or buy a certain car, that puts you in a team. You're working together.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a good way of looking at it, because it's not just having that common goal for now. You can, like you said, it's we want to buy a house, so let's do X, Y, Z together.
You're working towards that together.
Or you want to start a family, or whatever it is. Long-term goals.
Long-term goals is really important.
Yeah.
It just puts the focus on that, and you're not so focused on the small things anymore. And you're not focused on comparing yourself to other families or other couples, because you know that you have something that you want to achieve as a couple, as a family. And that just really puts things into a different perspective. Because we were talking about in the previous shows how, when you're working, you don't look at the small things in life anymore, because you don't have time to do that. So, then it kind of brings us back to this, where you kind of have the big goals and the big dreams together, inshallah. That's really important.
And then you have tunnel vision.
You have a tunnel vision. And during that vision, you try and have the shared hobbies. And I know it's really important, we say, to give each other time. He has his hobby or his interest. That's really important as well.
Oh, yes, definitely.
That you have your interest, he has his interest, but find at least one common hobby. And, again, that just really brings you closer. And the time, going out, date nights are really important, but I think it's always going to the root of things. You can have as many date nights as you want, but if that communication isn't there, if that connection isn't there, then it means nothing. Always go dig deeper. That's what I say. Dig deeper into the the roots of what his ambitions are, the roots of his happiness, and dig deeper to the roots of her happiness. And as we say, a happy wife is a happy life.
Yeah, 100%.
So buying her all the things and taking her to all the places is actually not what most women want.
No.
They just want someone who understands what's going on there.
And
I think vice versa for the men as well.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate the small things in life, I think, is the best way to connect. And then in turn, that kind of, trickles down to the children as well. Because then when you understand each other, as we mentioned earlier, then your children are going to be able to understand the best way to communicate. They're going to be able to communicate their feelings to you as well. And if they're feeling a bit unhappy or something's going on, or they need to talk about something, they find it easier to talk to you or to their father and connect, because they see that actually communication is beautiful.
Yeah.
And communication is something that's doable. A lot of people find communication really difficult. But actually, if you have that skill going on with your spouse, and you can understand and you can interpret what people are trying to tell you, then I think that your children will find it easier to connect with you as well.
Yeah, they'll certainly imitate that behaviour, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you connect with your children? What do you do?
So I
you
think
mentioned about with husbands, you have the hobbies and you have the common interests and
Yeah.
goals. But what about children?
So with the kids, I think it's important to have alone time. So I've got a boy and a girl, so it's a lot easier for me to say, right, we're going to have mother and daughter day today, or we're going to have mother and son day today. Give them that time alone, and then also bringing the family together is really important. So we have our, every other night we'll sit down with a pack of Uno cards and we'll play Uno as a family together, or some other board game, because they've both been content that they've had alone time with me, alone time with their dad, and then we're coming together as a family. So everyone's happy, everyone's in a good place. Me and the husband are connected, they've connected with us on a personal level, and then we're connecting as a family. And I think that's really important. But also what I try and do is make sure the siblings are connecting on their own as well. So I think it's important to make sure that we draw all those lines, and we have to make sure we enforce that, connecting all those lines together, because otherwise what will happen is people slowly drift into their own bubbles and their own silos. Everyone's in their own room doing their own thing, and that will become, like you said, habit. If people are constantly doing things on their own, they won't connect with you, they won't come to you when they've got a problem or anything like that. So I think we have to make sure that we've enforced that with our kids, that they have connection together and then a connection separately with each parent, and then we connect as a family unit as well, because then if we go through anything, be it a good time or a hardship, that we do it together as a family. Because if you're doing things in life alone, then good times and hard times, you'll go through it alone as well.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I totally agree, and I really agree with this whole, giving each child their own time as well, because then they can have that time to kind of speak to you one-to-one. Because sometimes, you said you've got a boy and a girl, and I've got, more kids than you, so sometimes it's kind of hard for them to have that one-to-one conversation with me, especially with school and work and then the babies and things like that. So it's nice to just go out and have that conversation. And I find that I really connect best with my children when we are we take a little small holiday, just a weekend away and things like that, because you don't have to worry about the small things like the house and everything like that. You're kind of in a secluded place, and you have all that. I try to just completely free my mind, focus on them and their needs and their happiness. Ultimately, the most important thing is a healthy mindset of the mother and the father, which then trickles on to the healthy well-being of the children. And I think that's the best way to reconnect with your spouse, with your children. Just, go deeper, go to the roots, go to the inner peace. That's what I think ultimately we all want to find, inner peace, isn't it? That's what happiness means. Yeah. Is that, I mean, I don't know, for me, happiness means inner peace. Yeah.
And that brings us on nicely to the end of our show. See you next time at Mums at Work. Ma'a salama.
Ma'a salama.